Here are 6 basic main parts of an introduction chapter. First up, opening. Start your chapter with a small, impactful opening. This could be a quote from a participant, it could be a surprising statistic, or it could be a standout sentence from the literature. You've got to put yourself in your examiner's shoes at this point and think, how are they going to be perceiving this particular part of my introduction? How are they going to be reading it? And you want to be aiming for a reaction that goes something like this. Ooh, that's interesting. Tell me more. Let's say, for example, that your PhD is about community belonging in rural areas. You might open with something like this. Over a third of young adults living in rural areas say they feel disconnected from their local community. Or a participant quote. It's weird. I know all my neighbours' names, but I still feel like I don't belong here. And you don't need to have this ready now. Just be mindful of it. So as you go through your research, keep a short list of these kind of things. Anything you come across during your research journey that makes you go, ooh, interesting, write that down. And then when you come to finish your introduction, you've got a nice selection to choose from. And another quick tip on these types of things are incredibly helpful when you're coming to write up some of your research, when you're developing journal articles or that kind of thing from your study. You want really impactful titles for those articles. So that kind of thing can be very, very useful for that too. Next up, elaboration and explanation. This is where you explain in a few sentences what your research is about. It's like paraphrasing your title. You're not repeating it, but you're just saying it differently. Think about it like explaining it to a friend who works in a different area. So if you were to say in other words or put simply, what would you say after that to describe your research? For example, if your dissertation has got this title, Exploring Food Insecurity Among UK University Students Post-Pandemic, you might write, this research explores how UK university students experience challenges in accessing adequate, nutritious food in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and how that affects their well-being and academic progress. That's it. Short, clear, accessible. And the purpose of this section is to show your examiner that you understand what your own research is about. And I know that probably sounds a bit weird, but many PhD students don't take the time to actually do this in their introduction chapter, and their examiner might get quite a way through their thesis and still not be massively convinced that this person knows what they're doing, that this person knows what their project is really about. So take the time to do this early on, because that will be really reassuring for your examiner. And it's going to help with your own confidence as you go through your thesis too. Quick question before we move on, and drop your answers in the comments. What part of your introduction chapter are you stuck on? Is it the aims and objectives? Is it the so what? Is it the opening sentence? Drop it in the comments and I'll see if I can help you out. Whilst you're down there, if you love our videos, if you want to support our channel, you can put a few pennies in our virtual tip jar by clicking on this thanks option right here. Not a lot of people know that this exists, and to be perfectly honest, I only discovered it myself when somebody sent us a thanks and I was like, what's that? Who knew? And if that's something you want to do, we would be massively appreciative, so go check that out. Next up, aims and objectives. Let's get this straight. Aims are what you want to achieve. Objectives are the things you'll do to achieve your aims. Your aims are all about the why, your objectives are all about the how. And what I think is a good rule of thumb is to have 2 or 3 aims and between 3 and 5 objectives. And you need to use active verbs, okay? So avoid vague things like look at or study. Use words that are actually going to describe what it is you're doing. For example, if you're doing a PhD on how women with ADHD experience healthcare, you might have the following aims. To investigate how women with ADHD experience diagnostic and support processes in UK healthcare settings. To generate insights into how healthcare services can better meet their needs. Your objectives might be to outline women's lived experiences of seeking ADHD diagnosis and treatment, to analyse how patients interpret their interactions with GPs, specialists and support services, to review perceived barriers and facilitators to accessing appropriate care, and to suggest improvements to enhance service accessibility and inclusivity. You can also think of your objectives as a sandwich. You start with something simple and descriptive, then you've got a nice, thick, juicy filling, which is critical and analytical, and then you top it off with something practical or forward-looking. Next up, the so what section. Why does your research matter? Who needs to hear what it is that you're saying? And this is where you clearly and confidently justify your topic. For example, if your PhD is on the use of social media in youth activism, you might say something like this. This research is significant in the context of growing concern about young people's civic disengagement. It explores how digital platforms are used to organise, communicate and create identity around political causes. As political participation shifts into new forms, this study provides evidence that can inform youth engagement policy, media literacy education and platform governance. When you're putting together your so what section, ask yourself these questions. What issue is this research responding to? Who is affected by it? What might change because of it? This section helps your examiner see that you are thinking beyond your own project, that you can understand the bigger picture. Next up, key terms and definitions. Here you'll want to define your key terms, but do it briefly. You can go into a lot more detail about your key terms, your definitions in your literature review, but in your introduction, you need to give your reader a basic understanding. For example, if your PhD is on emotional labour in teaching assistants, you might say something like this. This study draws on Hochschild's concept of emotional labour, the process of managing feelings to meet the emotional expectations of a role. In this context, it refers to how teaching assistants regulate their emotions when interacting with students, colleagues and families. The term invisible work is also used to describe the unacknowledged aspects of their labour. Also in this section, you might want to flag up any common misunderstandings and be really clear about your boundaries around what you're not including. I'm looking at pine furniture. This does not include oak furniture. Bad example. Anybody doing a PhD on furniture? Probably not. Okay, so young people, aged 18 to 21. Okay, that does not include people who are under 18 or over 21. Or if you're a criminologist and you're doing a PhD on vehicle theft, you might want to specify in this section that you're looking at the theft of vehicles specifically. You're not looking at the theft of items from vehicles. And you might say that you're looking at the theft of cars specifically, and you're not including motorcycles in that. That's a bit better than the furniture example, isn't it? And you might want to clarify if different disciplines define a term in different ways, because you might be drawing on literature later on that's from across different disciplines. So you might want to get really clear on that here. And lastly, the roadmap. And this part is really simple. It is a map of what lies ahead in your thesis. And you'll probably write this up properly at the end of your project, but it's helpful to keep some rough notes as you go. It might look something like this. Chapter 2 reviews the literature on community belonging and social support, identifying a gap around informal peer networks in rural areas. Chapter 3 outlines the study's qualitative methodology, including semi-structured interviews and thematic analysis. Chapter 4 presents the findings across 3 themes: isolation, local connection and digital interaction. Chapter 5 discusses these findings in relation to theory and suggests directions for future policy and research. Don't overthink it. It is just a short paragraph to show your examiner where you're headed.